I did my presentation over parenting approaches. This is something that I really enjoyed learning throughout this whole entire class about how different parenting styles really affect children, and not only children but also parents, and it kind of just shows the different parenting approaches that we have. So first off, what is a parenting approach? A parenting approach refers to the attitude, methods, and strategies a parent uses to raise their child. It shows how parents interact with their children and how they manage their behavior, discipline, communication, and emotional support. For me, this was fun to learn because I kind of got to learn how my parents did their approach on parenting, and kind of how I've seen other parents have their parenting approaches with their children. So there's 4 different types of parenting approaches. The first one is authoritative, the second one is authoritarian, and the third one is permissive, and the fourth one is neglect/uninvolved. For me, I think that my parents were authoritative parents, and they really helped kind of shape me into who I am today and learn how I want to be a parent. What is a authoritative parent? An authoritative parent has high warmth and high structure. Parents are supportive, nurturing, and set clear rules, and they encourage independence while maintaining limits. And they also can help their children lead to confident, responsible children. I think that my parents did a really good job of this, as I feel like they supported me a lot through a lot of things, and they did have very clear rules for us when we were growing up. They did encourage independence. They encouraged us to kind of learn things on our own, and we also were very confident kids. So here's this slide. And then these are the pros and cons of authoritative parenting, which there's more pros than there is cons, but there's always cons to every single parenting approach. So the pros would be that they are a balanced structure and freedom. So there's balanced structure in the whole thing, and also there's some freedom. Open communication, high self-esteem and confidence in children, better social skills in the kids, academic success, and emotional regulation. I think those are all positives to this parenting style because this is how I was raised, and I have very good social skills. I can talk to literally anyone. And I feel like you need those kind of social skills in any kind of job that you're going to get. So I think it's good that parents in this style teach that. The cons of this is it's very time consuming. It's emotionally draining at times because you're always involved in your kids. It may not work in every single culture, and there's a risk of over involvement, which I feel like my parents were never overly involved. They were involved in everything that I did, but I don't ever think that they were overly involved in what I did because, they showed me a lot of things that I needed to learn, and that they kind of just helped me through all of that. So here's this slide. Then my opinion on it. I believe that authoritative parenting is one of the most effective and balanced approaches to raising a child. It combines warmth and support while also setting clear expectations and boundaries. This helps children grow into responsible, confident, and emotionally healthy individuals. I also like this style. I also think this style encourages open communication for kids and their parents. This is also good for parents as they are still in their leadership roles and guiding children with consistency and fairness. In my opinion, this is the perfect balance of a parent. For me, I just think this is what was best for my family and how I would like to raise my kids. Yes, my parents were very involved in my life, which is good because I needed help a lot of the times. And so I don't think that there was ever like a too much involved or whatnot. So here's this slide. The second parenting style is authoritarian parent. So what is that? It is low warmth and high structure, strict rules and high expectations, little room for discussion or flexibility, and may result in obedient but possibly less happy or socially skilled children. For me, I know people who were raised like this. Some of my friends were raised like this, and I think that yes, it affected them some, but not very much. So there's also obviously there's pros and cons of this kind of parenting style. So I think that the pros of this parenting style is that there's clear rules and structure, immediate obedience, high standards, and less risk of entitlement. For me, yes, there's obedience, but every single kind of parenting has obedience, especially these two. Authoritative and authoritarian have obedience. Obviously, you're going to get disciplined if you do something wrong. So I don't really think that that is a very bad thing to have. I think that's honestly good. The cons of this is lack of emotional warmth, poor social skills, low self-esteem, and very much dependence, and limited problem-solving ability. It's just because these parents are kind of like speak for the kid almost, so that's why they don't have very good social skills. And I think that could become an issue at some point, because every kid needs social skills. You have to have social skills at some time in your workplace. So here's that. My opinion on this. I think this parenting style is way too strict and controlling. I do understand that rules and disciplines are very important, but this approach leaves little room for emotional connection and understanding between the parent and the child. Children raised this way might behave well on the surface, but also feel anxious, fearful, or even resentful because they're not encouraged to express their thought and feelings to their parents. Something that sticks out the most is that this style is more about obedience than about growth. It doesn't teach kids why certain things or behaviors are right or wrong. It just tells them that they'll be punished if they mess up. I think that this parenting style produces short-term obedience and harms kids' confidence, communication skills, and emotional development. For me, this is my opinion, just because as soon as a kid does something wrong, they get immediately disciplined. They don't get explained why they did this wrong or why that was wrong. They just get immediately disciplined about it, and they don't talk about it. So there's that slide. The third one is permissive parenting. So what is permissive parenting? It's high warmth and low structure, very nurturing and loving, but with few rules or demands. And children may struggle with self-discipline and authority. So this one kind of just explains that there's yes, the parents are really loving and nurturing and really care about the kid, but there's no rules. There's little to none. So the pros and cons of permissive parenting. The pro is that there's strong parent-child bond, just because they like to talk to each other. Encourage creativity and freedom. Less pressure and stress, and open communication. These are all good pros in a parent, but I don't feel like they're very good pros, if that makes sense. The cons would be lack of discipline, poor academic or behavioral outcomes, low accountability, difficulty handling authority, and emotional regulation issues. So there's that slide. The cons are very much more on this one because, there's no discipline here. They get to basically do whatever they want. They don't really have to hold themselves accountable really very much, and they don't really get in trouble. I also added how to avoid being a permissive parent. So the first way is to set clear rules and expectations. This looks like, for a parent, would be, don't be afraid to say no when it's necessary. Communicate rules clearly and explain the why behind them so kids understand, not just obey. I think this is big in any kind of parenting issue, but especially here to be able to avoid this kind of parenting style. The second way that you can do this is follow through with consequences. So that would look like be consistent if rules are broken, calmly enforce consequences. Avoid giving in just to keep peace. It shows the rules aren't that serious. So if you kind of just blow it off, then it kind of just shows that you don't really care to really enforce those rules. The third way to avoid this is encourage responsibility. So give children age-appropriate responsibilities like folding the laundry, doing the dishes, stuff like that, taking out the trash, just stuff that they need to be responsible for. And let them experience natural consequences of their own actions. So this is really big because, everyone needs to experience consequence in some part of their life, The fourth one would be practice firm but kind discipline. This would look like use positive reinforcement, calmly correct behavior instead of yelling or giving endless chances. You don't want to give a kid multiple chances to fix it. You want them to fix it on the first time. So you want to show that you're going to give them discipline the first time they make that mistake. But you also want to talk them through it in a nice way instead of just yelling, because that's never going to help a kid. My opinion on this. I think the permissive parenting can come from a good place. They care about their child and want to be supportive, but I think that too much freedom without enough guidance can do more harm than good in the long run. This style of parenting leads to children having trouble with self-discipline, decision-making, and respecting rules. I think that the style promotes open communication and emotional support. I just think that it needs to be a little bit more balanced with clear rules and boundaries, which I feel like is good. This isn't a terrible parenting style, but it's not the best. The last one is what is neglect/uninvolved parenting. It is low warmth and low structure. Minimal interaction or support can lead to attachment issues and poor outcomes in social and academic areas. This has got to be the worst parenting style there is, 100%. The pros and cons of neglect/uninvolved parenting. The pros, or is it there's just independence and freedom? Yeah, it's awesome that you get to do whatever you want, whenever you want, whatever, but that's not good for a kid. They need that kind of support. The cons are a lack of emotional support, poor academic performance, poor low self-esteem, behavioral issues, mental health struggles, and difficulty forming healthy relationships. And that's an issue with kids because you need emotional support, you need all that. I need that at this age, and I'm 20 years old and I still need my parents. So I think that this kind of just shows that like all kids need this kind of stuff, and that's why they're all cons. I also put in how to avoid this kind of parenting style. So the first one would be prioritize emotional availability, which this can be done by being present emotionally, not just physically. Show your kids that you care. Make time to really listen whenever your child wants to talk, even if it is just about really small things. That can go a long way with kids. The second one would be stay actively involved, which is knowing what's happening in your child's life. Attend school events, help with homework, or check in daily. This can be easily done. Every kid needs help with their homework. Every kid wants to talk at least once a day. So just checking in, like, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? That goes a long way with kids. And also attending school events. You don't have to attend every single school event, but like my parents attended all of my school events. So I just don't understand whenever parents don't attend school events, why it's such a big deal, So attending school events don't have to be the hardest thing that you do. Yeah, it's hard to take off work and stuff for that kind of stuff, but just try, at least if you show you're trying. The third one would be create a routine, which is structure and consistency help children feel secure. Simple routines around meals, bedtimes, or screen times show that you're present and engaged. The little things and routines really help a child. The fourth one would be show affection and encouragement. You can do this by regularly showing love through words, hugs, or even just quality time. And also praise efforts, not just results, to boost self-esteem and connection with your kid. I think these are all things that could easily be done and fixed with these kind of parents. So I just think that people would really just need to learn that and think about that. My opinion on this, I think that this is the most damaging of all parenting styles. When parents are emotionally detached or physically absent, children are left to figure things out on their own, which can lead to a serious emotional and developmental problems. Every child needs love, attention, and guidance. Without that, they can feel unwanted, insecure, or even lost. I think this parenting approach can negatively affect a child's self-esteem, behavior, academic performance, and ability to build healthy relationships. I think parenting doesn't need to be perfect, but being present, even in the small ways, makes a huge difference. For me, I just think that it's really important to be present in your child's life and kind of just show that you care. Obviously, I know that life gets in the way, but I think that this is really just shows that I don't think that anybody should parent like this. I hope that you guys learned a little bit more about this kind of parenting style. I really enjoyed learning all of these parenting styles throughout the course, and it's really helped me learn what I want to be whenever I'm a parent. Thank you.